the season as they knock off the defending champs. Point game Trilogy, who've now rolled off 2 straight wins. For the win, Gilbert Arenas knocks it down. Enemy's winner.
Game winner, Perry Jones. 3 straight for the enemies.
Start this season off 0-2, but we went out there and got it done.
This is what we've been talking about all year. This is what we've been talking about.
In downtown OKC, matchup number 2 of the day indeed comes with a championship pedigree. Trilogy, who won the inaugural title, led by Kenyon Martin, coached by Rick Mahorn. And now it's the enemies. With Brandon Tierney, Jim Jackson, I'm Carter Blackburn. Championship pedigree, yes, in the past. But this is the 2 hottest teams of 2019, making this a critical matchup.
Yeah, 2 teams that are right below that second tier below the triplets in the defending champions power, but both hot. Last 2 games, enemies 3-0, Trilogy 2-0. Trilogy kind of, Coach Kenyon Martin switched up the lineup, got a little different energy. Enemies kind of finding out and figuring out how to play 3-on-3, and they feel more comfortable right now. Rick Mahorn has been there, done that. So 2 of the hottest teams in the league battling right now.
And so for the enemies, you take a look at the roster brought to you by State Farm. You have Arenas, you have Craig Smith, you have Perry Jones, who's had a hot hand. But Royce White, first year in the Big 3, he has made his presence known in the middle of this enemy's lineup.
Well, for Royce Wright, there's so many things that he can do on the court. You see him playing off the ball right here, okay, in the corner, just allowing the pick and roll to happen, maintaining his spacing, reading off of Gilbert Arenas. Once Craig Smith now attacks the defense, now Royce Wright smartly goes back door, but doesn't have the shot, but hooks up his teammate. Now here, this is where Royce White can be really effective in the middle of the court. He's a lefty that can go right hand, identifies the defense, and now he sets up Arenas for a knockdown 3-point shot. So Royce can beat you in a number of different ways, not just scoring the ball, but setting up his teammates.
And the man who's coaching him, Rick Mahorn, with Brandon Tierney.
All right, Carter, we're with, no doubt, one of the baddest of the bad boys, and this is an interesting matchup. Year 1, you win the championship, go undefeated. That guy across from you, Kenyon, he was your star. Unique matchup here today, huh?
It's always a good matchup. Kenyon was a great competitor for Trilogy, and so far he's doing a real good job as a coach. So it's one of those games that it's a must-win for him, and it's a must-win for us.
You're a basketball lifer. I hear you on the radio. Obviously played a long time. You're doing your thing on the bench as well. But the difference coaching 5-on-5 versus 3-on-3, how different is it really?
Pretty much it's not that much difference, just half court. So it's the thing that you have to make sure you stay focused of being on the full court or the half court. Just got to make sure you're competitive.
All right, how mean is your pick? You got to go? You got to go. I was going to ask him how mean of a pick does he set these days? He's locked in. He doesn't care about that nonsense. He's got to go coach.
I guarantee you, because he's got a challenge here with the State Farm roster for Trilogy. Jason Terry, the Jet, but it has been David Hawkins in the last 2 weeks when they beat Power and Killer Threes. David Hawkins, co-captain for this bunch, has been stepping up his game as Trilogy is starting to get hot.
Well, listen, Tri-State is 7-1 when David Hawkins scores at least 16 points. So what does that tell you? The ball needs to be in his hands. He's very effective at drawing the defense and then making plays for himself and also for his team. And he has a big body, he can go inside and outside. But again, he was a breakout star last year, and he's the catalyst for how Trilogy has turned their season around.
So not only 0-2 start to 2-2, but you beat off previously unbeaten Power and Killer Threes last 2 weeks. And so Trilogy, White on the wing, gets the first one up. That's a long coup for White to get the scoring started for Trilogy.
And I tell you how the mental part of this, Trilogy beats a Power team that was decimated by injuries, but you know what? They were still the defending champs. And since that game, they've been able to roll off W's. So the mental part of winning a key game when you need it, you know, now what that did is gave this team a lot more confidence, stuck with the rotation they had, enabled them to continue with that hot streak.
Perry Jones gets the first bucket for enemies. Perry Jones, after quiet the first 3 weeks, had a breakout last week, 13 including the game winner, after he didn't score in the 2 previous games. Craig Smith into the corner. Robinson 3. Boarded by James White. Co-captain of Trilogy, not only won the championship, but undefeated season inaugural year of the Big Three 2 years ago. Got to clear out. That's a foul on O'Brien.
And one thing both Craig Smith and O'Brien, one thing they love to do is play on the perimeter. So they will battle inside a little bit more, but they love to pick and pop, which opens up, I think, driving lanes for perimeter players when you have shooters that can also be your post players and set picks.
Jones off the bounce. Perry Jones, shake, tough. 2 goes for Perry Jones, who is clearly starting to find a flow.
Yeah, but I like when Perry's aggressive and he doesn't settle just for a jump shot. But there, he surveyed the defense, knew the middle was open, but also knew that he could spin back on balance and knock in that fadeaway jump shot.
Hawkins off the bounce, aggressive on Smith. Kick to the corner. White, floater. Jones fighting for the rebound. Foul coming on James White. Banging with Perry Jones. So enemies lost their opener, won 3 straight. Frank Robinson. Jones has the board. Second chance, kick out. Smith nails the 3. Craig Smith off the offensive rebound from Perry Jones.
Yeah, able to spot up again. The offensive rebounds. Once you make a quick decision like that, for me, it's all about now making the play. And Craig Smith showing why, you know, he's averaging 21, a little under 22 points a game.
Whew. And then another nice dish from Perry Jones to Craig Smith. 9-2 start for enemies.
And it just seems like the enemies are more engaged and locked in right now. The second shots, they're quicker to the basketball, getting layups. Speaking of layups, Hawk right there. Excellent use of the pick and screen up top to get himself to the basket.
9-4 now, but a 9-2 start for enemies with Royce White and Gilbert Arenas both on the bench right now for the enemies. Hawkins attacks down the baseline, drops it off at the last second, and O'Brien flies in to bail him out. I mean, Hawkins gives it up before he hits the deck. Patrick O'Brien gets the bucket.
But the consistency right here we see right now is what Hawk is putting it on the deck and attacking, because he's going to attract the defense. Now it's just up to him to be able then to make a play.
And now Jones off the bounce down the baseline, needs some help. Smith, kick out, triple. White. Hawkins on Jones. 5 to shoot. Step back. 2 for Hawkins and a tough step back 2. 6 straight for Trilogy after the 9-2 start for the enemies. Robinson guarded by David Hawkins.
Great D right there, and helped by James White.
Chance at the end one, but White earns a trip to the free throw line. Again, ball didn't hit the rim. Steal, don't have to clear. Chance to get an easy 2.
Yeah, I mean, it was a little crowded space right here for Robinson on a drive, and easy steal that time by James White. Just not able to complete that 3-point play, or attempt at a 3-point play by knocking in that layup on the foul.
Sam Young is checking in. Had a breakout game last week, 13 points. Chance to give Trilogy its first lead. Perry Jones clears it. Still Arenas and White on the bench for the enemies. James White creating his own shot on Smith from the elbow, and Trilogy, after trailing 9-2 early, 8 straight.
Well, you got to keep in mind, this Trilogy team, after the power victory, they came back and played against an undefeated Killer Threes team and were able to knock them off as well. So you're talking about playing with extreme amount of confidence. That's why getting down early for this Trilogy team didn't affect them as much.
No basket, shot clock violation. And we'll see Royce White sub in for the enemies. So Robinson gets a start. Here comes Royce White, who has been dynamic in season 1 of the Big Three.
You know, Royce also is very tuned in and dialed into MMA fighting. Once we were last night, you see a big shot again by Hawk. And after commercial break, I'll talk to you about what Royce White and I were talking about last night in regards to MMA.
Locked in, Royce White into the game, trying to make his presence known, but it's Trilogy rolling to an early lead. Next week from downtown Salt Lake City, we get it started late night, 9 Eastern on the 24-hour home of CBS Sports with Threes Company versus Steven Jackson, Killer Threes. Then it's on to the Ball Hogs, Joe Johnson and the Triplets. Bivouac versus Aliens, Saturday night from Salt Lake City on CBS Sports Network. All right, Craig Smith, let's just call this some light campaigning. On Twitter, hey, BIG3, is there a Rookie of the Year asking for a friend? Englewood's own Craig Smith, first season of the BIG3, making his presence known, and he is with Brandon Tierney.
He is, and he doesn't have to use social media to do it. His game is doing it for himself. But sometimes you got to tap the drum for yourself, try to drum up a little interest. How receptive was the league to your request about a Rookie of the Year award here? Because right now, Joe Johnson's in this league as well, just in case you forgot.
That's true, but Joe's also a captain. I was drafted, so I feel amongst the draftees, we should have something. But, I mean, it's all fun. I think they were very receptive towards it, just creating new ideas, just to try to create more opportunities in the league.
No doubt. We're always evolving here at the BIG3, and really, it hasn't taken you long at all. From minute one, you jumped in, you did your thing. It was an easy transition. Why was it so easy for you?
I think I was just ready. I'm always in the moment, and I'm just always prepared, so I think just being prepared for the situation enough, coming right into it, being ready.
By the way, next time, get on Instagram as well, not just Twitter, all right? See you later, buddy. There you go.
I love it, man.
So 5 in this game for Craig. I mean, Joe Johnson, I would say odds-on favorite right now, but these other 3 have made their presence felt as well.
Well, Will Bynum didn't play yesterday, and that hurt, that hurts. Will McDonald, of course. The one with Craig stands out so much because you just didn't know. You figured Joe Johnson, still coming off of being in shape and playing, would be kind of a catalyst, but Craig Smith, I think he said it best. He came in ready to play.
And so did Royce White, so that's White's first bucket. And dare I say, there was some physical nifty. I don't know. You're the MMA. Yeah, you give us Royce's breakdown on that. And sure enough, White fouls there.
Of course, but he's very interested. Loves MMA. Loves the boxing part of that. It is interesting. We were talking last night because Greg Hardy is fighting. He said he wants to do it where he fights Greg Hardy, where it's NBA versus NFL. And he said Greg can't do anything with him. He's too long. So but I love the passion that he has for it because he was talking about it, just like he would be speaking about in terms of basketball. Just the love of the sport and what he wants to accomplish out of it.
White's been a big presence for the enemies as well. First year in the BIG3, Smith takes a pop and takes a tough tumble.
Well, deep post-up position right here. Hawk knows that he's beaten. So what you do is you don't allow your opponent to get the shot up. You give him a hard foul, nothing intentional, but you want to take away the opportunity for a three-point play so you don't give up the shot.
It was a 9-2 start for enemies, and then 11-0 run by Trilogy, 7 of those from the Hawk, David Hawkins. And now enemies fighting back in. And again, if you're tuning in for BIG3, you got 1 shot here for 2 points, which is one of the wrinkles if you get fouled on a three-pointer. 1 shot, 3 points, and then the 4-point shot, you can imagine how it goes. 1 shot for 4 points. Craig Smith, 6 years in the NBA. Last stop of the Blazers. So we're back to even. The 1 shot, 2 points, even at 13. Both teams have gone on early runs, and now we're back to 13. Halftime comes at 25. Playing to 50, have to win by 2. Hawkins crossover, takes it in White. That's a goaltend, count the bucket. 9 now for David Hawkins. Trilogy back on top.
Well, this is all about patience right here because Hawk went to the left side of the court, but he allowed the defense to spread out a little bit more. And as soon as he saw the opening in the lane, that's when he took advantage of it and was able to get to the cup.
White's going to set it up. Late in the shot clock, takes it himself. Air ball reset at the 14.
Well, you know, the issue with that shot was he wasn't even at the 4-point circle. So if he makes it, it's just a 3. You know what I mean? So
right, you're 4-point range, but you're not in the circle. Any part of the shooter in the circle, that's 4, but also late in the shot clock. And Gilbert Arenas seeing his first action with a nice welcome from the OKC crowd for Agent Zero. And on a hot day, we'll see if Arenas can get the hot touch. Carlos Arroyo in for Trilogy as well. Been big off the bench, part of Trilogy's success in the back-to-back wins. James White, tough 2 around Arenas.
And actually it was good defense because Arenas, Gilbert, he pulled the chair out knowing that White was going to try to muscle his way in, but how about the balance and coordination and then the soft touch creativity to spin it off the glass and get the 2.
Perry Jones nails it. Triple in the corner for Perry Jones. Back to a 1-point game. Confidence, you said, is noticeable for Perry Jones.
It is. He kind of struggled in that first game, trying to figure things out. But again, the first time you play 3-on-3, you think you got it down packed until you kind of get into it. And now as you play Arroyo with the 3-point shot, you find little wrinkles, and then you start to find a comfort zone on where your game fits in within the system.
White easy 2, Trilogy back on top. Top 4 teams make the playoffs. First stop New Orleans and on to LA for the championship. Arenas floater on Arroyo, rattles it home. Agent Zero from the baseline, his first bucket.
Again, both teams just trading buckets right now. It's the team that can, you know, kind of get a couple consecutive defensive stops, get a couple offensive possessions, put yourself in a good position as a leader going into halftime. And speaking about offensive possessions, right now Hawk just can't be stopped.
Hawk 11 of Trilogy's 21 in a 3-point lead. It was a 9-2 start for the enemies. Then the Hawk has gotten hot. Arenas trying to answer on Arroyo, poked away. Hawkins saves it. Easy 2 for Arroyo off the steal from Hawkins.
Taking advantage of the mistakes and miscues by your opponent. Right now, Trilogy having the upper edge on that side.
Hawkins with a spin move. When they went on an 11-0 run, it was 7 from the Hawk, and now 11. Nice moves. Watch the CBS Evening News with Nora O'Donnell. Trust matters. Carter Blackburn, Jim Jackson, Brandon Tierney from downtown Oklahoma City. No surprise Trilogy playing through David Hawkins. I mean, you go 21 points each of the last 2 weeks in the wins over previously unbeaten Power and Killer 3. So this is not a surprise that Kenyon Martin's Trilogy team is playing through David Hawkins. 11 of their now 23 on the board.
Well, if it's broke, you don't fix it. If Hawk is still breaking down the defense, then you continue to go to him. But it's plays like this right here that are killing the enemies, just turning the basketball over in deep position underneath the basket, where now Trilogy, who has momentum, is able to just, you know, grab the basketball and then finish inside. So if I'm Rick Mahorn in that last huddle, 1, let's stop beating ourselves. 2, defensively, we got to get some stops. And 3, offensively, let's take a page out of Trilogy's book. What they're doing is attacking us off the dribble instead of just settling for long jump shots.
Arroyo guarded by White, reach in, foul on Royce White. Kenyon Martin, he's going to be aggressive on the bench just as he was on the floor. There's no back down from Kenyon Martin. Led Trilogy to the undefeated season. First Big 3 title as a player in 2017. And now fighting for the guys on the floor for Trilogy. White in tight. Foul called on James White. So Royce White versus James White, and Kenyon Martin is doing everything he can to help out James White on the floor.
Well, that time James White gave Royce White space to shoot the jump shot, but Royce smartly continued to inch his way inside the lane to get closer and ultimately picked up the foul. But Kenyon Martin wants Royce to have to stay on the perimeter and shoot that jump shot, but beautiful move inside, good defense, couldn't finish. Fred Smith
kept it alive though. Tap out, second chance. Now Arroyo, fight for the loose ball. Hawkins wins it. David Hawkins clears, crossing over. Hawkins on Smith. The Hawk, 3. Couldn't stick it. Follows his miss. Offensive rebound for Hawkins. Fresh shot clock, so now it's Arroyo crossing over Smith, creating for the Hawk. Hard to the rim. Hawk finally finishes it off. It was a tough 2 for Hawkins, but sticking with it and sending us to halftime. Hawkins. I mean, who wants it more? The Hawk. David Hawkins, fight for it.
Well, great pass. I thought Arroyo actually had the layup, but kind of gave it up. And as a shooter, when you shoot, you know where the ball will come off at. 2 defenders went for the block that left Hawk wide open for the offensive rebound, and then ultimately the putback.
13 from David Hawkins. Halftime. We'll return to Oklahoma City after these messages.
Big 3 Basketball on CBS Sports is sponsored by State Farm. Talk to an agent today at 800-STATE-FARM. Toyota, let's go places. And by TGI Fridays. Endless apps. Pick one app, then another endlessly. Available all day at TGI Fridays.
Are y'all playing basketball? Get me on the court and I'm trouble. Last week messed around and got a triple-double. Freaking homies every way like Kobe. I can't believe today was a good day. Put your peace signs in the air like this. Put your peace signs in the air. Come on. Put your peace signs in the air.
Might as well drop the mic at that point, because, I mean, today is a good day. You get Cube. I mean, I was feeling it. You feeling it?
Always, brother. Oh, I love when Cube performs because he brings a different energy. The passion he has in music is the same kind of passion he has for Big 3 basketball.
Said laser focus on Big 3 basketball. I was trying to talk music with Cube before the game. He said it is all about the Big 3 right now.
That's right.
It is all about the Big 3. I think the hardest challenge for both these coaches was keeping the players engaged in basketball, because at halftime, Cube's given today was a good day. You know you're going to be following along. You know you're going to be in the flow of things.
Well, you know what? That's true, but I do believe Trilogy came out focused with what they want to do game plan-wise. The enemies now have to catch up. They got a brief intermission right now. They got some entertainment. Let's see if the enemies can turn their fate around in the second half.
Well, David Hawkins, predator in the first half for Trilogy when they needed him on the court. Trouble.
Well, nothing but trouble, because he's relentless in his attacks. And what I mean by that, he puts so much pressure on the defense off the dribble that you have to guard him. And as soon as you step back, he'll make you pay by knocking down a jump shot from behind the three-point line, and then uses that big body to get inside the offensive rebound and layup. What we're seeing is a combination of layups and jump shots, keeping the defense at bay.
It was an 11-0 run after a 9-2 start by enemies. 7 of those from Hawkins, 13. Scored the last 13. And now Smith. This is a critical one. You got 2-2 Trilogy, enemies at 3-1. Enemies have won 3 straight. Trilogy back-to-back. Big wins, top 4 go on to the playoffs. And it's Trilogy by 8. So after the enemies built a 7-point early lead, Trilogy now in control with an 8-point edge, playing to 50, have to win by 2. Arenas off the bounce, tries to feed it inside. Smith, floater over White. Tough rebound back into the hands of the Hawks.
Yeah, good D that time. And you see Gilbert Arenas starting the second half along with Royce Wright, giving you a little bit more maybe offensive firepower. But the defense right now with the enemies is the one area that has not stepped up to par yet.
And James White buries the triple to give Trilogy its largest lead. 8 straight for Trilogy, an 11-0 run quickly comes to an end.
I like the move by Royce Wright. A little power right there, a little shoulder right into the chest of Sam Young to create the space. Watch this, spin move baseline. I got you, big fella. Inside, you don't stop me, I'm gonna make you pay.
Royce White and the enemies, 0-1 start to the year. Have won 3 straight. White came off the bench along with Gilbert Arenas in the first half, but as Jim pointed out, beginning the second half, looked like Young out of the game with an issue with his hand after Getting called for the foul. Patrick O'Brien back in for Trilogy. So Sam Young on the bench for now. Hawkins 21 each of the last 2 weeks in Trilogy wins. Hawkins finds O'Brien inside. O'Brien able to spin it in. And the big man from Bradley. Back to a double-digit lead for Trilogy.
You see how far O'Brien is playing back off of Royce right now. It's two things with that. One, you think you're taking away the jump shot, but as you continue to inch back, Royce White moves with you, which brings him closer to the basket. Hence, on that last play, he was able to get the shot up, an offensive rebound, and then put it back in.
Goaltend count the 2. White has the board. White, quick flip. Smith in the corner for 3. Off the assist from Royce White. Quick clear and three-pointer for Craig Smith.
A quick play now brings the enemies within 5 points. Can you get the defensive stops you need now to square this game up?
Arenas called for the foul. He and Craig Smith trying to sort it out defensively. Attacking James White, right at Smith. White inside, strip, draws a foul. Second team foul, trying to get to the bonus. Again, no foul outs. James White, 1 shot for 2 points. Double-digit scoring in all 4 games for James White, and now make it 5. He has 14 so far. White has the board. Gilbert Arenas left wide open, couldn't make him pay. James White the board. Hawkins crossing over. Hawkins attacks Smith. O'Brien follow. 3rd chance. How about a 4th chance? How about a 5th chance? Nearly had it. O'Brien just couldn't finish, and that's what happens when you get 4 chances. You got to hang your head.
Yeah, Patrick O'Brien did everything right except finish the play. I mean, multiple opportunities, 1, 2, 3, 4, but not able to get it in.
So now Royce White in tight. Block, looks like White got a piece of it, and now finally something goes in for Trilogy. I mean, 5 at the rim, finally. I mean, James White, it's getting harder in tight. Arenas trying to spark the enemies. O'Brien got a piece of it, so that is an easy 2 for David Hawkins. Easiest 2 he's had all day today. After the block, don't have to clear it. Back into the hands of the Hawk, David Hawkins. Gilbert Arenas and the enemies find themselves down by 9. Agent Zeros with Brandon Tierney.
Okay, here he is, Carter. So I came up, I said, you're not playing today? What's going on with this? And you said, no, it's a matchup thing. Are you in the flow of this game yet?
Not yet. You know, trying to match up with 3 of their big guys. So I let Frank start, so they can switch, so they didn't try to just put me in the post.
But how do you now try to find that balance of doing your thing and finding your game, and not maybe to the detriment of taking out some of the other guys on your team?
Yeah, just playing. We just got to play. Got to get in rhythm. It's a little different. Craig has been our go-to guy, and now just trying to, get rhythm everywhere else.
Well, you don't hear that. Gilbert Arenas just trying to find his way.
Yeah, you got to try to find it.
Thanks, pal. Appreciate you. Back to you guys.
2 for Gilbert Arenas, but we know this. He is capable of heating up. 9-point game, Trilogy. Coming up next, the competition will be just as fierce on another court. It's World Team Tennis here on CBS. Trilogy has a 9-point lead on the enemies. Brandon Tierney is with the coach of Trilogy, Kenyon Martin.
All right, Carter, I know you're immersed in the game, so you're not too wrapped up in sentimentality right now, but when you look 10, 15 feet to your left, you see your former coach. Pretty interesting dynamic, huh?
No, definitely. It's always good to see Rick, of course. We won this thing together, but now he's the enemy, literally.
Yeah, he is the enemy, literally, no doubt. We know your style as a player. Tough as nails, a scrapper, a foxhole guy. What's your style as a coach?
Same way.
All intensity.
No nonsense, huh?
No nonsense.
Let me get out of this man's way. He wants to start coaching. Thank you, Kay. Appreciate it.
Hey, Kenyon's given that
Don't
stare
scare
a
him.
few times, right?
Don't stare. He's kind of scared you a little bit, huh, BT?
Not scared. I know my place.
You know your place.
I get out before I can get scared.
I like it. A wise man always knows when to exit the situation.
Latest thing. Okay.
Let Kenyon get back to coaching. That's great. Yeah, so Kenyon, again, with Trilogy, undefeated season, inaugural Big 3 Championship with Rick Mahorn. And now, Rick Mahorn coaching enemies. And this is a big one. So you know, for Kenyon, yeah, he's focused, but you always want to get one when you know each other, have that familiarity.
Oh, yeah. I mean, and the coaches are as competitive as the players, of course. And then Kenyon, having played for Rick for 2 years, you know, it was a bond there from when they won the first initial championship. Offensive foul here. But then the competitive side is that, yeah, you were my coach at one point at the time, but now I'm taking over, and I still want to hand you that dub when we play. But Gilbert Arenas right here kind of loses his footing right here, but then he pushes off on Arroyo, who's in excellent defensive position.
Would you say some gamesmanship there between, or was that gamesmanship, Arroyo and Arenas? I mean, those two can be animated.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, that was an obvious push-off. I mean, so now Arroyo sold it a little bit more, but it worked in his favor. Beautiful pass.
Ooh, Arroyo to O'Brien.
Beautiful pass. I mean, but that's patience, though. And I tell all point guards all the time, take that extra dribble, allow the defense now to make a decision. It opens up the court, and O'Brien had an easy layup inside.
Starting to get late for the enemies, who've won 3 straight. Jones pokes it away. Perry Jones trying to get the comeback started. Playing to 50, have to win by 2. Jones, Young gets it back into the hands of White. No reset, 5 to shoot. White to Jones in the corner, 4-3. Arroyo has the board and clears it for Trilogy, trying to make it 3 straight wins. That one's an obvious one as well.
Yeah, Patrick should have just allowed Arroyo to dribble out and then come back and set the pick. That time, trying to do it simultaneously, and you can't do that because you're still moving. So, offensive foul.
Hawkins sitting right now next to Patrick O'Brien for Trilogy. Hawkins leads away with 15 for Trilogy. Into Smith in the post. Smith, floater. You heard Gilbert Arenas say, hey, Craig Smith's been our guy. We have to play through him if the comeback's going to happen.
Well, you have to, but I tell you what, that was good D that time by Sam Young by maintaining his position and not going for the multiple pump fakes.
Arroyo forced to take a tough 2. Enemy stepping it up on D. Robinson past Arroyo, drops it off. Smith couldn't finish. Foul. Cole.
Both teams have had in the last few possessions some opportunities around the basket, not able to convert. Fortunately for the enemies, that time Craig Smith did miss the layup but got fouled in the process.
Smith comes in averaging 22 points per game for the enemies, who have won 3 straight after the 0-1 start. 10 in this one on just 3 for 10 from the floor for Craig Smith. So frustrating afternoon so far for Smith and the enemies. Down by 11. Trilogy trying to get to 51st. Young, tough runner. Jones knocks it away. Fight for the loose ball. Young and Perry Jones get tangled up. Foul called on Sam Young.
Trilogy's been stuck on 39 for the last few possessions. Let's see defensively if they can get a stop, if they can manufacture some kind of pick and roll, get to the basket.
Smith faces up, gathers Smith, tough 2. It's been tough all day, but Smith fights to get it back to single digits.
Yeah, that was a hard-earned 2 points that time by Craig Smith inside.
Arroyo now with Sam Young on the post. Young hasn't scored yet in the game. After 13 last week, Young on Smith. That's a tough 2. Smith fouled from behind by Young.
But that was a smart defense that time by Craig Smith, because one, hey, if Sam Young, if you beat me with the jump shot on the baseline, you know, all good. And then as Young made the attack off the dribble, Craig Smith maintained his space, bodied up, and forced a tough shot by Sam Young.
Well, the enemies have made it tougher on Trilogy defensively. And now trying to get Craig Smith going. Double digits. But only 4 for 12 shooting now. Smith, 1 shot, 2 points, down to 7. Double-digit lead for most of this second half. Largest lead for Trilogy was 11. Enemies fighting back to try and remain in the upper echelon in the Big 3 standings. Top 4 make the playoffs. Smith, Jones, Robinson on the floor. Yeah, offensive.
Obvious call right there. And Perry Jones really didn't have to push off. A little stop and step back. Hawks' momentum was already going towards the baseline. A little stop and pull back, step back, you had that shot.
So had your man beat, but because that arm goes out, it's an easy call.
Easy call.
4-point shot, Hawkins won't go. Smith clears, attacks on Arroyo.
Good help that time by David Hawkins on the double.
Hawkins takes it away, attacking, trying to close it out. Arroyo triple. Off the look from Hawkins. 8 points away from a 3rd straight win. Hawkins creates for Carlos Arroyo.
Yeah. Hawk came down on the double team knowing that Craig Smith had the advantage on Arroyo. Knocked it away. Went right back on the attack, drew the defense, made the right play to Arroyo for that open 3.
Smith in the paint, backs his way in. Follow won't go, and got a foul on the floor.
Now the game is simple. Attack the defense, draw the defense, and then make a play, make a decision. If your man is open, make sure that pass is on time and on target so your partner on the wing can catch in rhythm and be able to shoot the basketball.
And then put the ball in the hoop.
Yeah, I mean, and that you can't control, but what you can control is making the right play.
You've watched a lot of ball. That's what it boils down to, right?
It's real simple. Keep it simple, man.
Find the open man, see if he can make a shot.
That's it. Listen, the game of basketball, listen, you play defense, you rebound, you pass the ball, you shoot when you're open, okay? I mean, it's real simple. Now, sometimes as basketball players, we tend to complicate it a lot more, you know, by overthinking situations or trying to do too much. But when you keep it simple, the game of basketball is fluid, and it's a beautiful thing to watch.
Robinson was trying to lay all out to get the loose ball. I mean, you can see the hustle from the enemies, the effort for the enemies. Question is it too late right now, down by double digits?
You're only down by 10. You can make a run, especially having a 4-point shot here, but also getting yourself in the penalty, being able to retain possession. See right here, now you got a opportunity. Now it's an 8-point lead. Then you get another defensive stop. Kenyon Martin wants to smartly calls the timeout.
Robinson hustling, second chance bucket after leading by double digits for most of this second half. Enemies trying to fight their way back. They've won 3 straight. Trilogy's won back-to-back. Both critical wins for Kenyon Martin's Trilogy team. Women's summer hoops action continues on CBS Sports Network when the WNBA returns on Wednesday, July 31st, as Atlanta squares off against Indiana on the 24-hour home of CBS Sports. Game 2 of 3 from downtown Oklahoma City. So power, triplets, enemies, killer threes, all sitting at 3-1. Trilogy, this is not only an opportunity to hand the enemies a second loss, but to move into the top 4. Top 4 teams make the playoffs, and nobody's undefeated anymore, and it is getting wide open as you roll towards August.
But that's what you want. You know, the year that Trilogy won it, they were head and shoulders above everybody else in the league. Okay,
undefeated.
So it's undefeated and good for them. But that scenario you create, what we saw right there, creates competitiveness. It creates intrigue and drama, especially as you start to head to the end of the season, about which teams now begin to separate themselves and put themselves in the position where they're competing for those last 4 spots.
And so a critical stretch ahead for both of these teams, trying to maintain positioning. Hawkins back on the floor, trying to close it out for Trilogy, along with Arroyo and James White. Arroyo up a hard screen from James White. Arroyo step back three on Smith. Well short, Jones has the board, tries to clear it into the hands of Arroyo. And now Hawkins right back, Arroyo three! And Carlos Arroyo's hustle keeps it alive and pulls Trilogy within 5.
And I love the play by David Hawkins because he's the leader of the team. He's the leading scorer. He could have easily took that jump shot. Arroyo missed on the opposite side, but he squared himself back up in the corner. Hawk made the right play once again.
Rolls out for Smith. That's the way it's gone all day for the big scores for the enemies. Hawkins hits the long three. 2 points away from a third straight win for Trilogy.
See, when you make the right play, Craig, it comes back and it rewards you later on. And that time, Hawk able to get right back and knock in the three. And I'm sure the ball, you keep the ball in his hands right here, allowed him to finish this play, finish this game off.
Hawkins to try and close it out. Hawkins in tight on Jones. Banging. Gives it up Arroyo. Still time. 5 to shoot. Arroyo crossover. Arroyo blocked at the last second. Smith has the easy 2 for the enemies. And now back to Trilogy. Another chance to close it out. Arroyo and Hawkins on the wings. James White has it on Craig Smith, and he will end it himself with the wave to the enemies. A third straight win for Trilogy. They've taken out previously unbeaten Power, the Killer Threes, and now the 3-1 enemies. Kenyon Martin's Trilogy team is rolling with a hug for the man who helped lead him to a championship in the Big 3.
Now, we thought the ball would be in Hawk's hands. This time it was James White versus Craig Smith, who gave up a lot of space, too much space. Didn't want to get beat off the dribble, but at least you're there to test the shot. James White felt the rhythm dribble with his left hand, walks right into an easy 2, a long 2 at that, but it's game time.
18 from White, 18 from David Hawkins. He is our TGI Fridays player of the game. Hawkins, critical stretch when they went on an 11-0 run after the hot start from enemies. 7 of those from Hawkins, 18 in the game, and a third straight win for David Hawkins in Trilogy. Hawk is with Brandon Tierney.
Yeah, Hawk is flying high these days. Hawk is balling. 21 points the last 2 games, 18 today. And one sequence that I really noticed. First of all, congrats on the win. Let's get that out.
Thank you, and thank God for the victory. All praise be to him.
Down. And one thing that Jimmy said, I thought it was very interesting, where you're obviously been flowing here. Arroyo missed a 3. You had a look that you could have taken your shot, but you trusted your teammate, you kicked it to him, and he buried it. Good trust on this team, it seems.
Yeah, for sure. You got to have trust in your teammates, and everybody here is here for a reason. We all can play, and it's especially with I call him Poppy, with Carlos Arroyo. We won 3 championships together in Turkey, so I already know he can do.
He's got a high IQ. Obviously, you guys played together. You know, I was talking to Kenyon before, and one of the things I noticed about the coaches in this league, all legends, Hall of Famers, myriad resumes, but none of them played in the league, but Kmart did. What kind of an advantage is it to have the coach play in this league and really know it's, you know, in this league?
Yeah, I mean, he won the championship first year. He was the captain of that team, so he knows basketball is basketball, but he knows what Big 3 basketball is. So he's transferred from the court to the bench, so he knows how it is to be out there. So he's great coach. He's intense. He wants us to fight, but he has confidence in us. So.
All right, Hawk, is it time to start throwing Trilogy up there on the main page?
No, we want to keep flying under the radar, because we get it. We just gonna keep trying to get these wins, God willing. We're not worrying about all that hoopla, because it's all about who finishes it in the day. I want to say happy birthday to my son Cheney.
How old is he?
He turned 5 yesterday.
Keep going. Keep going.
Because I had to get to his birthday party, so it was good to get this win. This win is for him. I love y'all.
Nice job. You're making me miss my little guy. He's 4. I got to get home to my kids. The Hawk flying high. How about that? An athlete today, guys. The rare athlete who says, nah, spare me the headlines. I'll fly beneath the radar. I'll do my thing low profile.
Hey, happy birthday, Cheney. Dad's got to win 3 straight Trilogy over enemies in OKC.